What's good, everyone? Capitans here, and today we're going to answer the question, should you watch Cursed? Cursed just released on Netflix and is a fresh take on a story we all know well, the legend of King Arthur. Arthur ain't no king, he's an 8-year-old aardvark. No, not the PBS story, the famed king who pulls the sword out of the stone. Ring any bells? If his best friend ain't named Buster, I don't know about him. Cool. As I was saying, this is a fresh take on the King Arthur story. Instead of following Arthur around, we meet the Lady of the Lake, who normally gives Arthur the famed sword Excalibur before she becomes the Lady in the Lake. She's a part of the Fae. Now, the Fae are the magic people in this world, the people that possess magical abilities or look a little bit different. They may have tusk or antlers or wings or snakeskin or some other defining characteristic. And the Lady of the Lake is named Nimue, played by Catherine Langford, who I don't know much about except that she was in a show called 13 Reasons Why, and it rose her star power greatly. Nimue. Why do I know that name? Do I know a Nimue? A Nimue? Ah, got it.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps.
I hope that gets stuck in your head, and I'm not sorry. Now, of course, since the Fae are different than man, they're being hunted. Now, all throughout the land, a group known as the Red Paladins, a military wing of the church, is hunting and burning down Fae villages. It's kind of a weak plot point, but again, I've heard worse, and it's easy to understand. The Red Paladin army is led by Father Cardin, who has a brand of a crucifix in the top of his scalp, and actually everybody in the Red Paladin army has this crucifix in their head. I don't know about y'all, but if I gotta get a brand in the top of my head in order to join your little organization, I'm out. And it's when this branded army reaches Nimue's village, our story really starts to jump off. We learn that the sword Excalibur has been in Nimue's village for years, and she is now tasked to take that sword to the great and powerful wizard Merlin. More on Merlin a little later. This is when we start to meet the main characters of the story. Now, slightly before this happens, we surprisingly meet Arthur. And this isn't just a one-off meeting, he has a very pivotal role in the show. And like I said, this is a fresh take on the King Arthur story because Arthur is black. And you know, there's a pocket of the internet that is up in arms about this. And when I first saw the actor, Devin Terrell, I thought, man, he looks a lot like President Obama. Turns out I wasn't the only one who thought this, as he played Obama in a movie called Barry. I guess you could say, my Pendragon's black, the boy likes to slay, and now we goddamn. All black people can't rap. And Arthur isn't this king of kings that we know him to be. In fact, he's a mercenary sellsword who's in with the wrong crowd and gets in trouble sometimes. Interesting how the first time Arthur's black, he gets in trouble with the law. Now, moving back to Merlin, who's played by Gustav Skarsgård. And yes, he's a Skarsgård brother. I swear, every year I learn about a new Skarsgård brother. Do they just pop out of the womb and start acting? Merlin is a drunk who is an advisor to the King of England, Uther Pendragon, not to be confused with Arthur Pendragon. I mentioned Merlin and Uther Pendragon in the same breath because it's one of the things that I don't like about the show. Their relationship seems to be much to do about nothing, comes to a boil, and then goes right back down to being about nothing. Their whole relationship revolves around the Sword of Power. Now, Uther wants the sword so he can be the King of Kings, and Merlin, a former wielder of this sword, wants to break this sword down. And it's this wheeling and dealing between the two of them that really defines their relationship, but it really doesn't ever seem high stakes enough. And to be honest, it becomes quite a forgettable relationship until near the very end, where some things kind of tie together. And through some happenings, Merlin eventually sets off to go meet up with Nimue to break down this sword. However, you can't just break down the Sword of Power with rocks and stone and sheer guts. In gamer terms, he goes on a side quest. This side story is worth telling as it does have ramifications on our main storyline, but man, in that storyline, there is a lot going on and a lot of new characters that are introduced, which is a problem for this show all up. They introduce a ton of people, and it's hard to care for those people and keep track of them. It is an exercise in mental gymnastics. Game of Thrones had this same problem where they introduced like 1,500 Lannister cousins, and it's like, who is this? Now, while Merlin is on his little quest, Nimue is also trying to reach Merlin, but she has this Red Paladin army at her heels. And oh yeah, she has the Sword of Power with her, and of course she is forced to use it, and she does some baller things with it. Now, the more baller things she does, the more her name grows. However, the power of the sword is corrupting her. Luckily, she isn't alone. She has Arthur with her and her friend Pym. And Pym, I haven't even mentioned because Pym goes off on her own little adventure. The only thing I'll say about Pym is that Pym is great. The actress that plays her has great mannerisms and great react. While Nimue is on this journey, we also meet Igraine, who is Arthur's sister, who's a nun at a church. At this church, we also meet Sister Iris, who is a couple cards short of a full deck. Case in point, she wants to be the first female red paladin. Who in their right mind wants their head branded? No one. That's who. And once Sister Iris learns that Nimue is from the Fae tribes, she goes full on mini Terminator. If you ever need anyone found, call Sister Iris. And for the most part, that is all of the spokes that makes the wheel that is Cursed turn. And with all of these characters in any given place at any given point, they do this interesting transition from one character to the next. It's this comic book style moving image looking thing. That looks pretty cool, to be honest, but once you've seen it maybe 10 times, it gets a little old. And it doesn't help that they use it quite often because it's necessary to get from character to character to character. I do appreciate that we do get to spend time with each of these characters, especially the villains, because anytime you have a hero show, you have to nail the villain. I have to care about the villain. And they do an okay job at this, but the villain's motivations are just a little too weak. On the flip side though, Catherine Langford does a great job of making you care about Nimue. They actually make her seem like a badass too, especially when she goes full on mage witch mode. The show does fail her when the CGI looks a little campy. That's a problem that a lot of Netflix shows have. The CGI budget isn't where it needs to be, and so the show suffers. I think in the near future, they're gonna have to address that if they don't want comparisons to old sci-fi movies. So, should you watch Cursed? I think if you're intrigued by the trailer to Cursed, the show will do enough to keep you coming back for episode after episode. And I mean, they do just enough to keep you coming back. And to be honest, it's all worth it just to watch the last episode. Episode 10 of this show is spectacular. And if all of the other episodes were like episode 10, I think we would be comparing this show to The Witcher. Sadly, it's not, but it does leave me hopeful for season 2 and what the show can accomplish. So if you've seen Curse, what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. That's gonna do it for me. I want to say thank you for watching and be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, I'm Cappy Tance. Deuces.